Hey everybody, welcome to episode 14 of Scales Deconstructed. This week we are going to be taking a look at one of the most common scales for improvising over minor 7 flat 5 chords. It's a mode of the melodic minor scale. It's called the Locrian Natural 9 scale. Hope you enjoy. Okay, so to start out, let's go over what is happening intervallically within this scale. So it's just like it says, Locrian Natural 9. It's a Locrian mode, but we raise the flatted second to the natural second. So we're going to do this in the key of G. So we start with 1, then we have the natural 2, flat 3, 4, flat 5, flat 6, flat 7, and 8 again. Okay, so this is the 6th mode of melodic minor. So you can think of this as B flat melodic minor starting on G, if you want to think of it like that. That's typically what I think when I'm soloing over a minor 7 flat 5 chord, is I go up a minor third and I think melodic minor. And the reason why this scale is typically preferable to a regular Locrian scale is because the natural 9 is more of a note that you can hang on. It doesn't have the same dissonance that the flat 9 does. The reason being with G Locrian, that flat 9, it's a half step above the root, so it kind of has this pull downward, right? It's not typical that you would see a minor 7 flat 5 chord with the flat 9 on top, but you could see the natural 9. Right, it's a note that you can hang on. It has less dissonance to it, less of a pull downward. So that's typically why people will usually put a natural 9 over a minor 7 flat 5 chord when they're soloing. So it's a great scale to know. I mean, this is my go-to scale if I'm soloing over minor 7 flat 5 chords. So to start out with our exercises, we want to start with intervals. So we want to be able to go up and down the scale from thirds all the way up to sevenths. And as always, if you would like PDFs of everything I go over today with 2 additional patterns not covered per interval and arpeggio, you can head over to patreon.com/MikeAudetteMusic. So we're going to start out by going up the scale in thirds. So taking the root note, going to the note a third in the scale higher, third note of the scale higher, then you go down one, and then just keep ascending in thirds. So if we do that, we get this. Okay, backwards. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to reverse the pattern. We're going to go down the first one and then up the second one. So instead of going, we're going to go reverse the pattern of the second 2 notes. So if we take that through the scale, we get this. Backwards. Okay, now for the next interval set, we want to do the same thing but with fourths. So we take the G note, go to the 4th note in the scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, G to C. If we do that ascending through the scale, we'll get this. Backwards. Okay, now same thing, down the first one and up the second one. So instead of, we go. Okay, so if we go through that, we get this. Backwards. Okay, now next we have our fifths. So we take G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, G to D. We have to start with a flatted 5th. If we run that through the scale, we get this. Backwards. Now down the first one and then up the second one. backwards. Now for our next interval set, we will have sixths. So we take our G note, go up the 6 notes of the scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, G to E flat, which is a flatted 6. If we run that through the scale, we get this. Backwards. Now down the first one, up the second one. Backwards. Okay, now for the final interval set, we have sevenths. So we go to the 7th note of the scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, G to F, so a minor 7th. Now if we run that through the scale, we get this. Backwards. Now down the first one and up the second one. Backwards. Okay, so that concludes part 1 for the intervals. Now for part 2, we want to be able to go up and down the scale in arpeggios. So we take each note of the scale and build the 3rd and the 5th off of it to get an arpeggio for each note. So in this case, we get some pretty interesting arpeggios. So we're going to start with G, and the first arpeggio will be diminished. Right, G, B flat, D flat. Now the 2 is also going to be diminished, A diminished. The flat 3 is minor, B flat minor. The 4 is minor, C minor. Now the flat 5 is going to be augmented. So D flat augmented, really cool one. Then the flat 6 is major, E flat major. And then the flat 7 is major, again, F major. Then back to G diminished. So if we go through that, ascending this in the scale in arpeggios, we get this. Backwards. Now we'll change the pattern. We'll go down the first one and up the second one. That'll give us this. Backwards. Okay, and like I said, there are 2 additional patterns for the triads, as well as 4 patterns with 7th arpeggios going through the scale as well on the Patreon. So if you're interested in that, be sure to check that out. And now for our last part of the video, part 3, we want to be able to go up and down the scale in dyads. So all dyads are 2 notes played at the same time, so we want to take all of those intervals that we did at the beginning part of the video, and rather than playing them one at a time as single notes, we're going to do them as 2 notes at the same time. So we get some pretty interesting interval combinations throughout the scale in this one, and this can be really good for building your chord vocab, finding different pieces of notes that sound good within this tonality, and building chords off of that. So for the first dyad set, we're going to do seconds. So we're going to take the G note, and then go to the 2nd note of the scale, in this case A, play them at the same time, gives us our first dyad, and if we run that through the scale with the remainder of the seconds, we get this. Now for the next set of dyads, we're going to do thirds, so G to B flat, minor 3rd. If we run that through the scale, we get this. Now the next one we have 4ths, so G to C, perfect 4th. If we run this through the scale, we get this. Okay, now 5ths, G to D flat, tritone, diminished 5th. If we run that through the scale, we get this. Okay, now sixths, G to E flat, flatted sixth. If we run that through the scale, we get this. Okay, and then last but not least, our sevenths. So G to F, minor 7. If we run that through the scale, we get this. Okay, and like I said, all of that is available on my Patreon page at patreon.com/MikeGoddamnMusic. And these exercises in general, I recommend being able to do these with any scale in multiple positions if you can, because it will drastically improve your understanding of the inner workings of these scales and just getting to know everything about the scales inside and out, much more. So that is our episode for this week. Thank you for watching, and I hope you learned something. And like I said, check out the Patreon page at patreon.com/MikeGoddamnMusic, or if you would like to just donate, you can do so at paypal.me/MikeGoddamMusic. Thank you for watching, and I will see you at the next episode. Take care.